All right, today we're going to talk about the introduction to the executive branch. We just finished talking about the legislative branch, which makes the laws, and now we're going to talk about the executive branch that enforces the laws. This triangle up here should look very familiar to you. It's the triangle that represents federalism, which means that federal, state, and local governments all share power together. All right, so here on your note sheet at the bottom on that little triangle, you should have U.S. President at the top because he or she leads the executive branch at the federal level. You should have NC Governor at the state level. And then at the local level, split that in half, okay? And make sure you have County Sheriff and City Mayor / Police Chief, okay? All right, here we go. Let's introduce you to these people. This is President Barack Obama and Vice President Joe Biden. You should know them. They are on their way out of office. Like the 22nd Amendment tells us, the president can only have 2 terms. This is the end of President Obama's second term. He's about to be not reelected. He's about to be booted out of office, and there will be another president who replaces them here pretty soon, in less than a month. All right, the executive at the state level is Governor Pat McCrory. And the other guy with him is Lieutenant Governor Dan Forest. Okay, so these 2 people are in charge of enforcing the law at the state level. All right, and Governor Pat McCrory, this is the end of his first term in office, and so he and Lieutenant Governor Dan Forest are up for re-election. Okay, all right. This is Sheriff Neil Elks. He is the leader or the enforcer of the law at the county level. Here's his little sheriff star up here. He does not enforce this law by himself. None of these leaders enforce every single law by themselves. They have plenty of people to help them out, but they are the head executive of each level. All right, and then again, at the bottom of the local level, you have our city mayor, who is Alan Thomas. He's the mayor of Greenville. He wears a lot of vests. You might have seen him on the news or on Facebook here pretty recently because of Hurricane Matthew. He was sending out a lot of emergency reports to let people know what was going on here in town. This is not our current police chief. This man is Hassan Aden. He was our old police chief. Our new one's name is Mark Holtzman. He just got elected. He's actually coming to South Central here pretty soon. All right, so again, here's our triangle of federalism: U.S. President at the federal level, NC Governor at the state level, and then County Sheriff and City Mayor / Police Chief at the local level. And all of these people together enforce the law. That's what you need in your side note on the right-hand side at the bottom of your note sheet. They all enforce the law. Okay, so let's think about what you expect the qualifications for president to be in the governor's qualifications at the state level. Because remember, we have qualifications for how old you have to be, where you have to live, and what kind of citizen you have to be in order to make laws at the state and the federal level for the NC House, NC Senate, and U.S. Senate and U.S. House. So let's talk about these qualifications for the president. Let's read from Article 2 and see what they are. No person except a natural-born citizen or a citizen of the United States at the time of the adoption of this Constitution shall be eligible to the office of President. Neither shall any person be eligible to that office who shall not have attained to the age of 35 years and been 14 years a resident within the United States. So, what are the qualifications? I'll tell you. There are 3 of them. There should be 3 bullets on the back side of your note sheet for today. You have to be a natural-born citizen. You have to be born in the United States. Can't be born in South Africa and get naturalized and be the president of the United States. Not how it works. So that's first bullet, natural-born citizen. The second one, you have to be 35 years old. And the third one, you have to be 14 years a resident within the United States. So again, natural-born citizen, 35, 14 years U.S. resident. And the qualifications for vice president are the exact same thing as a president because the 25th Amendment tells us that the VP takes over for the president if he or she cannot do their job or passes away. All right, moving on to our qualifications for NC Governor. This is on the right-hand side of your note sheet for today at the top. All right, no person shall be eligible for election to the office of Governor or Lieutenant Governor unless at the time of his election, his or her election, he shall have attained the age of 30 years and shall have been a citizen of the United States for 5 years and a resident of this state for 2 years immediately preceding his or her election. No person elected to the office of Governor or Lieutenant Governor shall be eligible for election to more than 2 consecutive terms of the same office. All right, so let's talk about these things. The qualifications for NC Governor, there are 3 of them. You have to be 30 years old. You have to have been a U.S. citizen for 5 years. and a North Carolina resident for 2 years. All right, so 30 years old, 5 years U.S. citizen, 2 years NC citizen. All right, and then at the bottom of the right-hand column on your note sheet where it says term limits for governor, here they are. You cannot be governor for 2 consecutive terms. So let's write this down the way that I'm saying it. No more than 2 consecutive terms, aka back-to-back, and no total term limit. I'll put a little side note in here so that you can listen to that later. Okay, so no more than 2 consecutive terms and no term limits. And again, the qualifications for NC Lieutenant Governor are the same as the governor because, like the president, if the governor cannot do his or her job or they pass away, the lieutenant governor comes in to help them. All right, so what do you think should be included in the president's benefits? I'll let you think about that for a second. Here are the benefits of being president, and this goes in the left-hand side of your note sheet under benefits on the president's box. Okay, he or she gets $400,000 a year as a salary plus an expense account. All right, so if you've got to travel anywhere to be the president, you do not have to pay out of pocket for all those flights and check bag fees and all that good stuff. You have an expense account that will do it for you. Okay, you get to live in the White House. There are 312 rooms in the White House, so you and 311 of your closest friends can all go in there and have a room to yourself. All right, you get a staff of over 80 people. You get a vacation home in Camp David, which is right outside of Washington, D.C. in Maryland, over the Maryland border. And it's a pretty cool house. It's pretty old. It was built in the 1950s. Late 30s, early 40s. FDR had it built. Air Force One is the jet that the president flies on. It's a pretty big deal. It's a pretty huge jet, pretty comfortable, so people have told the press. They get retirement benefits. The president gets free health care for the rest of his or her life when they leave the presidency. So once you're done being president, you can go to the VA hospital and get free health care until the day that you die. They get Secret Service detail for the rest of their life for themselves, their spouse, and their children unless any of them decide to refuse it. All right, so let's talk about the president's car for a second because it is pretty cool. It's called the Beast.
The latest limousine, known as the Beast, has a foam-sealed fuel tank that won't explode even with a direct hit. The car is perfectly sealed against biochemical attacks. There is an oxygen supply and firefighting system in the trunk, and reportedly, bottles of the president's blood type. The doors weigh as much as a 757 cabin door, thanks to 8-inch thick armor plating. Remington shotguns are close at hand. The body is made from steel, aluminum, titanium, and a ceramic. Accessories include bumper-mounted night vision camera and tear gas cannons. Run-flat tires keep rolling, even when fully punctured. Called transparent armor, the bulletproof windows are one of the most amazing aspects of the presidential limousine. Of course, the Secret Service refuses to say anything about them. But in Ogden, Utah, International Armoring Corporation harnesses the same technology used in the Beast to custom armor cars like this luxury SUV for billionaires, Hollywood stars, and heads of state. To demonstrate how the ballistic glass works, owner Mark Burton shoots the same transparent armor that is in the SUV at 20 feet, 5 times the magnum. And this glass is less than half as thick as that in the presidential limousine. The windows begin with layers of heavy glass that absorb the bullet's impact, but generate deadly sharp fragments. The final layers are a plastic. Like a catcher's mitt engulfing a baseball, these elastic sheets stop the bullet completely, and any shards of glass.
Some of the rounds that are actually embedded into the ballistic glass itself. But as you can see from the back, the polycarbonate has stopped not only the rounds, but also the fragments of glass.
All right, so that's the president's car. If you're trying to get next to the president, you probably won't do so being outside of his vehicle. So this is the nuclear football. This little briefcase right here that this man is carrying contains the launch codes for one of our weapons of mass destruction. Our missile systems are based out of this little briefcase right here. This follows the president around anywhere that he goes. All right, and he or she, whoever is president at the time, is the only one who is allowed to access them. And this is only in case of emergency or like World War III. Right, but it's pretty cool that, you have a missile at your ready at any point in time. However, you do have to be wise enough to know when to not push the button and deploy the missile. All right, so some other benefits are some Secret Service code names. President Obama's is Renegade. Donald Trump's is Mogul. Melania Trump's is Muse. Hillary Clinton's is Evergreen. Bill Clinton's is Eagle. And Tim Kaine, who is Hillary Clinton's vice president, his is Daredevil. I think the funniest one that I've seen is probably, it's not really funny, it's kind of lame as well, who is Al Gore's daughter. I don't know what her name is, but hers is Smurfette, and people asked her why she had Smurfette as her code name. She was like, well, they told me I had 2 minutes to come up with it and had to be S in 2 syllables, so that was the first thing that popped in my head. So hers is kind of lame, but it's also a little funny as well. We're not going to go on a White House tour because we're going to do that later. All right, so with all that is at stake, why would somebody want to become the president? All right, so let's talk about this farewell address from George Washington, okay? It's got 3 parts, and I'm going to break them down one part at a time. So part 1, the acceptance of and continuance hitherto in the office to which your suffrages have twice called me have been a uniform sacrifice of inclination to the opinion of duty and to a deference for what appeared to be your desire. All right, so first of all, let's back it up. All right, the office to which your suffrages have twice called me, what you need to know, I accepted that you voted for me twice as president. Okay, next, a uniform sacrifice of inclination to the opinion of duty and to a deference for what appeared to be your desire. This means, in real people talk, because I felt it was my duty, my something that I should do, I have to do, that you really wanted me to do this. All right, and our last one, I constantly hoped that it would have been much earlier in my power, consistently with motives which I was not at liberty to disregard, to return to that retirement from which I had been reluctantly drawn. All right, so this last part right here, what you really need to highlight is to return to that retirement from which I had been reluctantly drawn. So from right here to the end. Okay, what he's really trying to say is, but believe me, I really wanted to return to my retirement. He didn't want to be president, okay, but the people who were at the Second Constitutional Convention, all those 55 old white men, they squatted up again after our Constitution got passed and were like, look, dude, we need you to be our president. He was like, all right, cool, but I need you to, like, address me in a humble way. Okay, he didn't want to be president. He was like, all right, fine, but I have to be addressed as a humble person. Okay, so we address a king or a queen as Her Highness or His Highness and Your Majesty. We call the president just Mr. President so that people don't get it twisted and they don't think that the president is above the law in any way or better than any other citizen. All right, so I hope you've enjoyed Intro to the Executive Branch.